Hey guys, Dominique here, obviously coming to you from my kitchen again, but I just wanted to pop on here because things have changed a lot on the channel in the last few days. I went from 650 to 50 subscribers to 900 and something in a few days. I'm sure that the majority of the new subscribers follow Justin Sturgill Trucking. He did a live stream the other day that featured me, which I was actually really surprised. I didn't know was coming. I just happened to follow him, and when the notification came up, I clicked on it and I hadn't even read it. And then when the video came up and I saw my name, I was like, whoa, this is weird. But with all the new subscribers, a lot of people haven't seen some of my older content, which isn't even that old, it's a few months old. And I've gotten a lot of questions, and I wanted to just get a video out and maybe talk about answering some of those quick little questions so people don't have to dig through the older content to try to find it. But the first thing that I wanted to tell you guys is that my truck is fixed. It just got fixed in the last couple of hours, and so I will be back to work tomorrow. I was hoping to be back to work today, but it just didn't work out that way. They only ordered the motor side of the mount when I needed both the motor side and the frame side, and they didn't want to order it until they knew for a fact that I needed it, which it kind of seems silly because I was pretty sure I needed both sides, but that's okay. We're going back to work tomorrow. Okay, so one of the major questions that I got in the comments on random videos is what makes me love truck driving so much. And some people bring up, they're like, oh, was your grandfather a truck driver, or was your dad a truck driver? I didn't know even one truck driver. And then I think when I was 16 or 17, my older brother got his CDL and he started hauling for Pepsi. And then he works for Waste Management. He's a Teamster also. And he's been in the union since I think he was 20-ish. So I think he turns 40 this year. So it'll be 20 years, about 20 years. He's a real good driver too. And garbage, when I got my CDL, I just knew garbage wasn't for me. But one of the things that I like about truck driving is the independence. I'm a really social person, but I also really like to listen to audiobooks, like a lot. I listen to 2 or 3 a month, new ones. And that's in between, being on FaceTime with my kids all the freaking time, it seems like, and making videos and actually getting out and laboring a little bit here and there. Not a lot, but some. I just like the independence. I like the scenery to change. What I like most about driving truck is that although you may go to the same job for weeks on end, it's going to change. I'm not going to spend the next 30 or 40 years going to the same place every day. Because we definitely have been on jobs where, especially when I worked at a much larger construction company before I worked at this one. And what would happen on that one is that a job would start, you would get assigned, and your truck would end up parked at that job site. And the jobs were so big that they would go on for 6 months to a year, and very rarely would you go to a different job site. And that was one thing I didn't like about that job. And the other thing was that I didn't like that my truck was always parked at the job site, because I lived in Marysville at the time. And I know you guys aren't from around here, but you'd have to drive from your house all the way to downtown Seattle. to get your truck. And so then you don't start getting paid until you actually get in your truck in Seattle. And for a while, my truck was parked down on the pier. So I had to not only drive to Seattle, then I had to drive from the freeway all the way out to the water and go down to the pier to get my truck, which, I mean, I went to work every day and I was very grateful for that job. It didn't work out with my family lifestyle. It was really hard on me, especially in the summertime, to have a 2.5 to 3 hour commute home. And for reference, it's about, I would say the pier to my house, where I lived then, was only about 35-40 miles. It wasn't that far. And there was all kinds of other aspects about working for a big company. I didn't have the situation of being just a number like a lot of people are at big companies, because in a group of people, especially truck drivers, I have a tendency to stand out, and I did work with a bunch of other women, and I think there was 4 of us out of about 65 drivers that were women, and we all got along really great, and it was really nice to work with a lot of hardworking women. 2 of the drivers had been in the industry for close to 25 years, and it was nice because they taught you a lot, and they were open and willing to help if you needed help. One of the drivers, and I know she's watching this, and I'm gonna get a remark about it. She's gonna be like, "Bitch, don't talk about me," but she's a couple years younger than me, and she's still driving for that company. And we were pretty much separate for the first 6 months that she worked there, and then we became inseparable after that. And it's just funny how things go like that with women. Like you just don't talk to each other, and you're like, I don't know her, and then all of a sudden, boom, best friends. But yeah, so she's watching, I'm sure. And so is a bunch of other people that worked at that company. It's not a bad place to work. I would definitely, if you're going to be a union driver, it's around here, you don't have very many options. So it's definitely like, if something happened in my company now, I would definitely go back. But nothing's happening in my company. But I like to get in the truck, and I have notes here because I knew I wasn't going to remember all the questions. But I like the independence. I like seeing the work getting done, and I also like my solitude. But I also am social, so it's kind of good to also be around other truck drivers and in pits, and I like to meet new people and get out there. But yeah, so also kind of touched on what made me want to drive. And so like I said, I didn't have truck drivers in the family. I just at a young age, it was about 4, I just decided that I was going to be a truck driver. I was more interested in over the road, and I think that I wanted to get away and see the world and, just be on my own, I guess. And it seemed like the perfect job to do that. And I did do it for about a year, and I did LTL because LTL paid quite a bit more than a drop and hook job or a straight load. And that's what I was looking for because I was young and looking for money. Still didn't pay super well, but it was pretty good at the time. It was team, and I was 21 when I got my CDL, and I would leave Monday night around midnight and get home sometime on Friday. It just depended on how our day in LA had gone. But we got home sometime on Friday, and then I could go out drinking with my friends and dancing, and all weekend, have all day Monday to recover, and then go to work at midnight on Monday night. It was perfect. A lot of times we didn't leave till Tuesday night. It just depended on the loads. that I worked for Brown Line. It's a small company that's owned by Linden Trucking, I think now. But yeah, and then how did I get into truck driving? I saved up the money for truck driving school by working as a barista and managing a restaurant. At the same time, I juggled two jobs to come up with the money to pay for truck driving school. And then I continued to make coffee while I went to truck driving school. And then a lot of times I continued to work at the coffee stand on the weekends when I was home from driving truck to make extra money because I like money. And I like working hard, and I do like having fun, but you can only have so much fun with the funds that you have. You have to earn more, you have extra. But and then people were wondering how I got into dump trucking, and everybody wants to know how you can go from over the road to driving a dump truck. I'll be honest, it's hard because a lot of people, they want people that have experience driving dump truck, especially around here. I see ads all the time because I'm always curious about what the non-union drivers are making because I just don't really know. So I'll look up driving jobs, just getting curious. And some of the companies will have ads out and they'll be hiring drivers and they want 3 years experience, minimum. And then they want to pay you $25 an hour. And I'm like, who are you going to get to drive for $25 an hour with 3 years experience? But that's neither here nor there. But how I did it is I got a job working nights driving a hydroseeder. That's the job that I took. And it was seasonal. It was just for one summer. And they just needed somebody to drive the truck while you had somebody else ride on the job sites and stuff on the top and spray water on plants because it was an erosion control company. And so they would put all these gorgeous plants out on the sides of freeways and things like that. And then in the contract, they were to water these plants. And so I drove the hydroseeder to and from the hydrant and then drove it really slowly on the job site while somebody else sprayed the water on the plants. And then I did also learn how to hydroseed at that job after a few months of just watering plants at night. But they were paying $30 an hour minimum because they couldn't get somebody to work at night. And like I said before, I like working nights. I like the independence. I like how quiet it is, especially in the summer. I don't necessarily want to do it in the winter because it's cold out, but in the summer here, it's 60 degrees and it's calm and quiet, and it's just I like the feeling of being out there. But then, as things progressed through the season, I learned how to hydroseed. And then at the end of the hydroseed season, I got a job working for a company that had 2 dump trucks and a lowboy. And they moved a lot of equipment for other companies, and then they rented out these solo dump trucks. So the first dump truck I drove was a 1978 Mack. And this thing was so beat up, but I wanted to drive a dump truck, so I was willing to do just about anything. And so learning to move equipment, pulling an equipment trailer, and I drove the lowboy some, but not a lot. Not enough to put it on my resume to say, oh yeah, I used to drive lowboy for, but I've driven a lowboy quite a bit when I worked there I think I worked there about 4 months, and then they went out of business. And then after that, I had a hard time finding another dump truck job. Then I found a company that had a dump truck and an end dump, and they were offering to pay $16 an hour. And they said it's also a labor job because they had small housing jobs. So a lot of times you would drive the truck, drop material off, and then help on the job site, help like hand dig for utilities or whatever. And I was like, I'll do anything, because I was like, after 6 months of pulling hose for the hydro seeder to water the plants and that kind of stuff, I was like, it can't be as bad, trust me. But or hauling bales of hydro seed and 50-pound bags of grass seed. But we had a really good time at that construction company. My sister ended up coming to work there, and it was there that I learned how to drive an end dump, and where I learned how to drive truck and trailer. And my first truck and trailer load was concrete. And those of you that drive truck and trailer and haul concrete, you know how easy it is to mess things up and make mistakes. And the owner of the company, he's like, call me when you get there and I'll tell you how to do it. And I had a conversation with him on the phone while I was dumping out, and he told me exactly how to do it. And that's how I learned. I would say the best way to go from driving over the road to driving dump truck is be willing to take any dump truck job or any construction job that does have some driving, because one of the things that people are looking for is they're looking for people that know how to navigate a construction site and are not overzealous or too aggressive or dangerous. And you need to spend more time on the site to really understand how things work and be cautious, because I've definitely seen new people make huge mistakes when something, a safety thing seems obvious, but when you tell them they made a mistake, they're like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So it's things you learn over time that become obvious to you and you do better with. But basically, my biggest thing for me is being willing to work. Be willing to do anything that the company asks when it comes to work, working hours, working shifts. A lot of companies, especially here, if you want to get into construction, a lot of times you do have to work nights first. It just is what it is. A lot of people don't like it. It's hard for me when I have to work nights now, having kids, but when I was younger, I did nights all the time. It usually pays a little bit better, even when you're first starting out. They usually pay a couple more dollars an hour for somebody to work nights. This is what I always drink also. Sparkling water with no flavor. It's fine. You can make fun of me. I don't care. But yeah, so I just wanted to check in with you guys and put out a little video and say thank you for subscribing, and I really appreciate it. And find out if you guys had more questions than just those ones that seem to be repeating over and over in the comments. And yeah, see if there's anything specific about the truck that you're curious about. I do know that the setups can be a lot different depending on the region. And I know that they make truck and trailer dump trucks that have a lot shorter reach than mine. I've actually never seen one, but I've seen pictures and videos, of course. But the reason for our long reach is for bridge weight, to spread the weight over a longer distance. We have a lot of bridges, we have a lot of hills. It's just, it's probably not necessary, but they think it is. But yeah, thanks for subscribing. And if you're so inclined, like this video and follow me on Instagram and Twitter. The links are down below. And let me know what you're interested in, what you want to know about truck driving. And I definitely will get some videos of my new motor mount, so you can see what it's supposed to look like, not broken and split apart like that, like it was in my last video. But thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later.